Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Comic Outlaw, and we're doing a little something strange, something unusual. I'm shooting this from the hip, y'all, and we're doing What If Namor joined the Fantastic Four. Dun dun dun. Yes, this is one of my favorite stories of What If back in the day, and I thought I'd just share it with you before we continue on our ongoing series of certain issues that are going on. So let's get to it. And this is a place where Johnny Storm and the Fantastic Four kind of found himself, kind of dwelling from street to street, and he just happened upon this certain person that looked very familiar. That he had been a hero, maybe. That he fought in a group called the Invaders with a certain captain. But I'll leave that for you to find out for yourself. But as soon as Johnny drops him into the water, something happens. Something changes him. Makes him different. And all of a sudden, his amnesia is gone, and he remembers. For he is Submariner, Namor himself. And then he feasts his eyes upon Sue Storm and the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four. Finding out that Atlantis is in ruins, nothing left, he decides to vow vengeance against the upper world. And yet, this is the watershed point. This is the point, instead of fighting, he decides to join the Fantastic Four. As Sue Richards grabs his arm and welcomes it in, and he feels a sort of magnetism between them, and he decides to join. And now they become the Fantastic Five. And as Sue Richards is captured by Dr. Doom, and he sends the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Submariner, Human Torch, as well as Ben Grimm, Fantastic Five, sorry, back into time after Blackbeard's death. They kind of steal some swashbuckling clothes, and I guess they're walking all swaggered out, but this is Marvel, y'all, so take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, they're searching for this lost item, this lost treasure that Doom wants, since Doom is connected to both sorcery and magic. He uses both. A very fascinating villain, Doom. But anyways, they retrieve the item because Mariner dives deep into the ocean where Blackbeard's ship crashed, pulls it out, and all of a sudden as they come back, not only does Namor know how to use the item, he hits Doom with a concussive, like with a big blast, and knocks him down. And not only that, he's also to generate force fields with this amulet. Very interesting weapon. And as the Fantastic Four go to work, Doom tries to take out Sue Richards, and Namor provides a force field to protect her. And with the combined might of the amulet, as well as the Fantastic Four, they're able to beat Doom, but yet they haven't. For they only beat a Doombot. One of Doom's many Doombots. But over the years, the Fantastic Four go on different missions against the Puppet Master. They both fought the Hulk. I would have loved to see that rumble. They fight different people, like a little red ghost and the apes. Keep in mind, old school Marvel, y'all. The Mad Thinker, as well as the Android. And I love this scene with Super Skrull, how the depths increase his power, and he just kind of beats his butt. As Namor becomes more and more entranced with the Fantastic Five, he starts to grow closer to Sue, as Reed pushes his feelings to the side. But the Fantastic Five does continue, and even one night, until the inevitable happens, and Namor proposes to Sue. This, of course, devastates Reed, but he can never admit to his feelings, so he just goes back to his work. It's what Reed tends to do. But anyways, they do get married. Like, good shot of Nicolas Cage, things being things, he's joking around. He asks him, Reed's going to do a toast. Reed kind of stands up and, he gives a pleasant enough toast, but he also says that he's leaving the Fantastic Five for them to become the Fantastic Four again. And as the Fantastic Four carries on, he finds that things are negotiated different. Reed goes to work in Richards Technology, building stuff for different people, including the Fantastic Four. I like the bond that he has with Mole Man. I like how things are different with Namor, and Reed's kind of on the side like the invention guy. But he's looking for assistance. And yes, I am a sucker for a redhead too. Her name is Lizette. And over time, not only is she brilliant, but there's an obvious attraction that Richards will not admit or probably can't even see since he's always working. But she's working for someone else. And I think we all know who. But as it carries on, we find out that Sue Richards is actually pregnant. And they do go out on a pseudo date, Reed, finally. And after he has one drink, he's basically roofied out. And of course, as always, she had no choice. What can you do when Doom is pulling the strings? But yes, Doom, he lets you know this is part of his nefarious scheme all along. That he had kidnapped her family and put her up to this. But she didn't think that she was going to care for Reed so much. But Doom has something prepared, something a little bit evil. A serum that makes him basically into his servant, a little more of a zombie, more or less, and he breaks into the Fantastic Four's headquarters, since Richards knows every mechanism, every security code. Doom and him break in for a sneak attack, so he can take his vengeance on Namor, as well as the rest of the Fantastic Four. And as he disables the locks and mechanisms to the rooms of the Baxter building, Doom is ready for his revenge. Doom is ready to take what is his. But meanwhile, Namor is contemplating how good his life is, that he has everything they ever wanted here on the surface, until Doom busts in. And yes, he shouts at his name, and Namor jumps at him, Doom! But it's too late. Doom is prepared for this, and he blasts Namor in the face and then punches him to the ground as Reed entangles Sue with his arms, not being able to control himself, and just nothing more than a puppet to Doom's will, as Namor hits the ground. Catching everyone by surprise, Doom says that both him and Namor will die slowly, but first she will die, so he can watch it as well as Richards. And they will beg. She will beg for his life as Namor watches, but this is too much for Reed. Reed, fighting the serum, finally shouts no, and shouts if anyone's going to die, it's Doom, and wraps around him. But Doom throws him through that glass, and that's not just any ordinary glass. Reed had developed that glass to resist certain heroes, certain attacks. So that glass is really strong. Just want everyone to know. But the Thing and the Human Torch show up, and the rumble begins, but Doom takes off. Losing the element of surprise, Doom vows vengeance for another day, as he asks Namor if everyone's fine except for Richards, who's bleeding to death due to the injuries from the glass. He's sitting there apologizing, but Elizabeth steps up, and she says that she's a doctor and she's able to help. So she goes to work, trying to fix him, trying to heal him, and she had to get him into surgery. And she ends up saving him, and Nick Fury and the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. end up rescuing her family from the clutches of Doom. And they start to get together, and eventually things happen as they always do. She gets married and pregnant, as well as Namor and Sue having a son. The kids start to grow up together. And we all know what happens in the next generation, the new Fantastic Four. The next step in the Marvel Universe, in this reality, this one of many realities. And this is the Comic Outlaw, and I decided to share with you this one story, one of my favorite what ifs. So what if I come back and drop another one, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah.